The Stranger's Secret Letter. It was just after midnight when Daniel Foster found the letter. He wasn't supposed to be in that alley behind the diner, not after his 12-hour shift at the factory. But exhaustion had driven him to cut through the dark back streets of Cleveland, where street lights flickered like dying candles. He almost tripped over the envelope, yellowed, rain-stained, edges curled as if it had traveled farther than any man could walk. Across the front, written in shaky handwriting, was a single line: "To the one who finds this, please read." Daniel paused. Letters were rare now, in a world buzzing with phones and instant messages. Something about the paper felt heavier than it looked like it carried more than just ink. He stuffed it in his jacket, planning to toss it. But that night, lying on his old couch in his one-bedroom apartment, curiosity gnawed at him. He broke the seal. The letter. December 5, 1989. Cleveland, Ohio. If you're reading this, I may no longer be alive. My name is Miguel Alvarez. I came here from Mexico in 1978, chasing the dream everyone talks about. But the dream came with a cost. I made mistakes, some that haunt me every night. And one mistake still waits to be forgiven. There is a house on Ashland Avenue, number 314. Inside its basement lies a box. In that box is the truth about what I did, who I hurt, and what I've carried in silence. If you have the courage, find it. Maybe it will set me free. Maybe it will destroy me forever. Daniel stared at the paper, his hands trembling. Who writes a letter like this and just throws it into the world? It could be been a prank. But the raw pain in those words felt too real. The next day, he couldn't stop thinking about it. His father had been an immigrant too, a steel worker from Poland who died when Daniel was 10. He knew about sacrifice, about carrying shame in silence. Something in Miguel's words hooked him like a fish on a line. After work, he drove to Ashland Avenue. The house. The house at 314 wasn't abandoned like he expected. It was an old Victorian, paint peeling, but someone lived there. Curtains twitched as he parked his rusty Chevy. He almost left. But then the door opened. An elderly woman with silver hair stepped out. She studied him with sharp eyes, the kind that had seen too much life to trust strangers. "Yes," she said. I'm looking for Miguel Alvarez." Her face froze. For a moment, Daniel thought she'd slam the door. Instead, she whispered, "Miguel has been dead for 12 years. Daniel's chest tightened. I found this." He held up the letter. Her hands shook as she reached for it, but she stopped short. "Where did you get this?" "An alley. Behind a diner. Last night." She closed her eyes. "He used to walk there, before everything." Daniel hesitated. "He said there was a box. In the basement." The woman's lips trembled. For a long silence, only the wind spoke. Finally, she nodded. "Come in." The basement smelled of dust and rusted pipes. The woman who introduced herself as Elena, Miguel's widow, led Daniel to a corner where old crates were stacked. Behind them, hidden under a loose floorboard, was a metal box. Her hands refused to touch it. "He made me swear never to open it," she whispered. "Said it was his burden. But if his letter found you, maybe you're meant to." Daniel lifted the lid. Inside were documents, photographs, and at the bottom a blood-stained wallet. He pulled out the ID. It belonged to James Whitaker, a name Daniel instantly recognized. James had been a local activist, a man whose disappearance in 1989 had never been solved. Daniel remembered his father mentioning it at the dinner table. The city had whispered rumors for years: drugs, mob ties, political silencing. But nothing was ever proven. Next to the wallet was a confession, handwritten by Miguel. The confession: I never meant to kill him. James found out I was working with men who smuggled workers across the border for cash. He threatened to expose them. I begged him to wait, to let me fix things. But that night, there was a fight. He fell, hit his head. I panicked. The others told me to stay silent or my family would pay. So I buried the truth. I have lived every day since with his blood on my soul. To James' family, I am sorry. To my own family, forgive me. And to the one who finds this, I give you the choice I could never make. Tell the world, or burn this letter. Decide if my sin should die with me. Daniel's breath caught. The room seemed to shrink. Elena covered her face, sobbing softly. He carried this every day, she said. Sometimes I would wake to him crying in the dark. But he never told me the whole story. Daniel sat in silence. He thought of his father, how men like Miguel had worked themselves into early graves, unseen, unheard. But this wasn't just hardship. This was a crime. He faced a choice. The choice. For 2 weeks, the letter burned in his pocket. He visited the library, dug up old articles on James Whittaker's disappearance. He found interviews with James' daughter, who had grown up believing her father was taken by corruption. One evening, Daniel drove to her address, a modest house in Akron. Her name was Clara Whittaker, now in her 40s. When she opened the door, Daniel froze. How could he hand her a ghost, I think? I have something that belonged to your father, he finally said. Clara invited him in, eyes wide with guarded hope. Daniel placed the wallet and the confession on her kitchen table. She read silently. Tears streaked her cheeks, but her jaw remained steady. He didn't just disappear, she whispered. He tried to stand for something. And they silenced him. Daniel swallowed. Miguel wanted forgiveness. Clara shook her head slowly. Forgiveness isn't mine to give. But truth is all I ever wanted. The ending. The next morning, the Cleveland Gazette ran a front-page story: Lost Letter Reveals Truth Behind 1989 Disappearance. Miguel Alvarez's confession shook the city. Old wounds reopened. Some cursed his name. Others pitied the burden he had carried. Clara finally had answers, though not peace. Daniel watched it unfold from his apartment window, the newspaper trembling in his hands. He didn't know if he had done the right thing. But he remembered Miguel's words, maybe it will set me free. Some secrets rot in silence. Others, once spoken, begin to heal even if the healing cuts like a knife. Daniel folded the paper, staring out at the rising sun over Cleveland's rusted skyline. For the first time in years, he felt like he hadn't just stumbled through life. He had carried a truth from the shadows into the light. The stranger's secret letter had found him. And now, it belonged to the world.